this might look like a cat video, but actually it's going to be a video on mapping out your research process. I just thought it would be soothing to see Howard. Howie, do you want to say hi?
Oh, hi guys, what's up? I'm Howard. I gotta go back to sleep though. Bye. Enjoy your research study.
And here we are with our research study. So what we're going to be talking about today is the way in which our research papers are similar and different from the ways that we saw in the IMROD video. So that was a brief overview. Hopefully it gives you an idea. And we're going to look specifically at our homework for tonight, a reading for tonight that's on the Moodle Galaxy-wide writing strategies, and see kind of like what are the differences. So first of all, the first thing I want you to note is that this is not what your paper should look like when you turn it in. This is just what this was like when it was published. So for contrast, I'm going to show you another paper. This is a different paper. It was published in a different place. It looks different. The point is, when you publish papers, this one was in college English, and we'll look a little bit more at sort of the differences between the different papers. But when you publish something, you let the people decide what they want, right? So the editors of the collection of chapters, or the editors of the peer-reviewed journal, they decide what it looks like, and these folks decided it looks like this. We are going to be choosing either MLA or APA. So that's just a reminder that your paper will not look like this. It will look either APA or MLA. So you can see that this was originally for Pamela Baker's spring 2017 English composition class. This is not specifically for our class. So that's another thing we want to note right away. This is a great student example, but it was not for our class. So their assignment was a little bit different from ours. So again, Nuance. And this is also a different discourse community. Notice right away, though, that one of the things I really like about all the student examples I'll share with you is that they all mention the specific discourse community. And you want to do that too. It's a move that every single one of you should probably make, is to mention the discourse community. And she does that right here, where she says, as a discourse community, this ever-expanding group of sci-fi devotees, etc. And then she really gives a very specific example of like, who are they, what are they doing, and so forth. And you should too. And it's okay if you don't know yet what exactly you're going to say about your discourse community. Don't worry about that right now. Okay. So the second big nuance is that introductions really vary in length. Although the IMROD method video said it can be kind of short, that's probably not going to be the case for us. We are going to need an introduction. And notice this one goes straight into the methods. That's just not what ours is probably going to look like. This is a slightly, this is a professional example, so we're not trying to emulate this specifically, but to give you an idea of how long an introduction can be, Teaching Wikipedia, Appalachian Rhetoric, and the Encyclopedic Politics of Representation by Dr. Matthew Vetter is a wonderful article where he talks about how he uses Wikipedia as an open access text in his English classes. So there's a lot of information. You can see, I'm like just scroll, I'm gonna get a little closer. I'm scrolling through, hopefully you can, don't try to read it, don't get, but it's not till here that we get designing the course, designing the study. And even then he doesn't actually give us the methodology for this case until about, let's see, like here is when he starts talking about how, even there, he's not quite there yet. So this is probably 8 pages of introduction. Now, that is including what you call a literature review. And one thing that the IMROD video did not discuss is what a literature review is. So I'm going to click to the next piece here. We just looked at composition as a rite of passage in our class. So this is, again, I'm going to just illustrate it one more time. This is really different, right? This is a chapter in a book. It's a collection of different articles that are essentially function as chapters. So this, it says a chapter, but it's not part of, these people didn't write the whole book. They just wrote one chapter. That's a totally typical thing in higher academics. So this is empathy building interventions, a review of its existing work and suggestions for future directions. This is a type of academic essay that does not include an original primary research study. I'm just showing this to you so that you can see what a lit review looks like. So here's an abstract, right? This is just how these folks at this particular publication chose to do an abstract. Ours will look somewhat similar. It will probably be a little bit longer than this. It will have keywords at the bottom like this, and we'll go over how to do that later on, but I'm just showing you it looks different. And these people have chosen to do columns, right? This is, again, really different. So we just understand that we give things to people in APA or MLA, and then they do what they want with them. So what we see is not what we produce. I just want to make that point a couple times. So this is an introduction. It talks about that the idea of empathy, and of course you all know that my work is on empathy studies, so this is something I've used recently for my work, and that's why it's on my computer, but I think it's a great example of a lit review. So we start here, really is where they kind of start the lit review, where they give you evidence that challenges the ideas of empathy. And notice that in their lit review, they give this like bump out, right? Empathy and compassion, and then they give a review of existing interventions. So that's when this would be like methods, right? They tell you like what reviews they're going to do and what methods, and they give you all that information. And then I love this, they break this down into a table where then they give you each of the studies and what the study said. You know, for example, the first one, they show you, you know, what the actual population participants were, what training was given them, and what the outcome was of that study. So this is a really great example of what you can do once you have your data. So this is the data set, okay, and they have this methodology that's quite detailed. And they have probably what would be for us in our papers around 4 pages of a literature review, okay? So that's not represented here in the homework assignment. So just keep that in mind that it's really different. Then notice too, like the methods are like super, super short, but where does she spend all of her time? On the results. So she breaks things down by writing strategies. She talks about intertextuality, gives examples of that. She talks about organization. Notice like very nice multimodal composing here. And writing strategy 3, she talks about nostalgia, okay? And then a separate conclusion. So this is a very excellent example of a really interesting discourse analysis type of study. And this can give us just a great feeling for the kind of nuance we can have. And she uses quotes from the actual film to help us out. So in any case, the last point that I want to make is that for some of us, these sections are going to be longer than others, okay? So for some of us, the sections at the end of the piece, the conclusion, are going to be very short, as this one is. For some of us, the methods might be only, in this case, I think her methods is something like a paragraph, right? For others of us, that method section is going to be 3 or 4 paragraphs, maybe 5. Other folks are going to have a longer introduction, and some of this has to do with your own discourse community. So just keep these things in mind as we go forward. There are a lot of changes. Just to review what we've talked about, first of all, is your paper going to look like this? No, you're going to use APA or MLA. Do you have a lit review? Yes, you do, right? And it's going to be about 4 pages probably of your work, between 3 and 4 pages of your final paper. And we'll talk a little bit about how the annotated bibs go into that next time. Are you going to have a methodology? Yes, you are. Is it going to be this short? Maybe, maybe not. Is your results going to be this long? Maybe, maybe not, right? So these things all depend on the nuance of your discourse community, the expectations of that discourse community, and what research you actually find, right? So a lot of this will change. You don't need to worry about how it shakes out. Just know it's not always going to be exactly like this. And we'll end with another cat picture, the soothing cat picture. Boofus, do you want to say hello? Boofus? Boofus, give us a smile. Okay, thank you. All right, Good luck, friends.